Let's call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Let's stand for the pledge, please. Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3, which is approval of the agenda. Can I get someone to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move that we approve the agenda.
I'll second. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the agenda, on the approval of the agenda? All right, and then we'll just do a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. All right, thank you. Item 4 is public comment. This is public comment for all agenda items and on matters that are not on the agenda but that are within the Shasta County Board of Education's jurisdiction will take place during this item. Members of the public are invited to fill out a speaker card and review the speaking to the board handout available at the check-in table. The board is not allowed by law to take action on matters not on the agenda. Dan Sloan, trying to come up. You might have to push the button.
My name is Dan Sloan. I'm a professor over at Simpson University and do a lot of different things here in the community, very involved. I thought I would speak because there's maybe some misunderstanding and some things that are happening in our community, especially at the schools level. As the faculty advisor for training up at USA at Simpson University, I was there in my office about 3 weeks after classes started. We were just getting into the school year. Charlie was assassinated almost instantly. I've been the chairman of the Republican Party here in Shasta County and other places. Have a lot of connections with people, so instantly they're flooding me. Something horrible has happened, getting videos and other things. Almost instantly, the community became very concerned and very divided. You probably noticed that in your own life. And it was very, very traumatic for the students that we have. Evan is here. Evan's the chapter president or club president at Simpson University. And we went through a lot. I mean, it was horrible. People were very mean and angry and passionate on both sides when there was just a situation. Well, since then, we've done a lot to try to correct the problems. And Evan, to his credit, has gone to lunch, met with people, sat down with them, been to many, many different events across the aisle with many different people. That's what Charlie would have done. He took every speaker that came up to the board or up to the microphone and said that we've got something to talk about, let's talk about it. We did the same thing here in Reading at the Civic Auditorium. Had a lot of pushback. The amount of pushback we had was on both sides. People propping us up on the other side, pushing us down. And we ended up having, not at Simpson University because they didn't want all the publicity and negative things that come along with that. So we had it at the Civic Auditorium. And unfortunately, we had people there that were outside picketing. We wanted them to come inside. And we actually had one person that came inside and was saved that evening. It was out picketing that came inside. We want people to understand who we are. And we want that to happen through communication. And we're willing to speak to people if they're willing to listen. We listen to them. But there's too much division. And I understand that maybe some people on your board have even done that. I didn't come here to point fingers, but I came here to help speak to this situation and speak to what is happening. And the only way we're going to get above, the rancor that we have in our community is to have some conversations like you're doing here. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. Leslie Sawyer.
I gotta push the button. I'm going to start with the need for the this board to take back their signing authority. You've been doing that. Some of you have been doing that. Arthur has been doing that since he started. But the unilateral decision by Scully to remove Anderson High School District from the Community Connect program and use community schools funds to cover that should have been something you discussed and you voted on. You are an oversight board for this body, and you should be overseeing all of the finances, all of the big decisions. That should not be something that they're just choosing to do. And that is how it was intended to be, not only in the original framework, but by our founding fathers. You are electeds because you represent the people, and they are funded with taxpayer dollars. So you need to take back that authority. Any of you who choose to rerun and want to keep your seats, you might want to think about starting to act in that direction, because we're going to get people to run who want to act in that direction. Arthur has been a prime example of acting in that direction, and he deserves to keep his. Evan, who's here, deserves an apology from you. And you know why. He knows why. But your public comments disparaging children. He might be an adult. He's a child. Absolutely unacceptable, especially in the seat you sit in. And you guys have already said you don't want to censure her, whatever, for her behavior and her posts. However, I want it brought up and put on the record that she wanted added to a hit list. Unless it is a hit list, I know, because other posts like it resulted in death threats to me and my children, who I now have a restraining order because of, and she's aware. So Jessica went and put not only my name on that individual's hit list, knowing there's a restraining order, knowing that the link for now was me, but she also put Jackie on there, one of her fellow board members. Why? Because she is a hateful, vindictive person who does not show the character of an elected official. So, I believe in solutions. I think we have 3 of them. Apologize to the child who you disrespected at the board meeting here and resign, or this community contact me, let's do a recall, or this body sanction her and do something, censure her, do something, take action, let her know her behavior unacceptable and appalling. She represents the taxpayers, and she should know better.
Megan Wadden.
Good evening. My name is Megan Wadden, and I am with the California School Boards Association. So I am brand new, and I'm representing this region, basically from Colusa County all the way up to the Oregon border and as far east as the state line. And I just wanted to briefly introduce myself and say you will see me around. And I'm also based here in Redding, so you'll see me. Thanks. Thank you.
Did you take the place of Suzanne Barrymore? I did, thank you. Yep. And I have business cards. I will go and thank you for the first time.
Evan Jones.
There we go. I think I got it. Excuse my voice. I'm rather ill recently. It's nice to see you all again. Arthur, Jackie, it's been a very long time. I just want to start off by saying that I did see that you did like that post. Jessica, I will say that I do forgive you. I don't hate anybody. I don't think that there's a single person on this planet I could hate. It did deeply bother me walking onto that parking lot and see that man jumping around with a smile, waving that sign, knowing exactly what it meant, and
the excuses that people made for him, saying that it was a part of a song when it was directly pointed towards the assassination of Charlie Kirk, who was a very big role model for me and many of my friends, especially my friend Diesel actually got in the crowd as well, who was the Federal Turning Point Chapter president, and he actually helped me put on that event. Each of us felt that we couldn't go out there because of that man and because of people such as him himself. I think it is very, I think you really have to just be careful about what you like, interact with. I'm not sure your true intent with liking that post. I'm not sure if you were really in favor of that man. If you really were, it really shocks me, because we sat here in this very room after a meeting and had a very good conversation, a very peaceful conversation. And to see you like that man's post feels like a little slap on the back of the head. But again, I do forgive you. That faith night was absolutely amazing. I got help from many, many people. In fact, some people in this room actually put in almost all the work, just as much as myself, and it killed me to put up that event. But 30 people gave their life to Christ that night. And just as this fine lady said right here, or Dan said, a young lady from outside that was protesting, was angry and hateful, absolutely hated the entire thing, came inside and was saved. She was very happy. I was hoping that you would have come inside too, Jessica. You were invited inside. Everybody was. Even that man was invited inside until he started getting a little violent with security. And it is really sad and upsetting that we have to have that much security for an event put on by college and high school students. It's just a pointless thing to sit here and run around on a field, threatening minors. I'm 17. I grew up in Cottonwood, and I never thought I'd see it all come to this. I feel like things were really amazing until we let people just do things such as that. And I feel like you should be against that, Jessica, but when you're liking that post, it doesn't seem like you're against that. Again, I don't know your true intent by that, but it's just the way it looks out of people is really, really bad. And maybe if you'd like to comment on it someday, I think it'd be very helpful. But I forgive you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Comment?
What's your comment?
So I just wanted to, you don't have to come up, it's okay. I just wanted to respond to you specifically. I think there may be some misunderstanding. First, I have no idea what post we're talking about. Nobody has disclosed to me any post that was made or a comment or a like or a comment that I made. Of course, I'm familiar with our exchange through Facebook. I don't want to discuss that here because that was a personal conversation, had nothing to do with my position here as a board member. If you want to talk about it after the board meeting or during break and you want to inform me what you're talking about, we can have a discussion about that. But I have always unequivocally been against violence of any kind. I've been a public servant for 20 years. I've always been anti-violence. I'm not sure what like it is, but as you're aware, when you came here before, you were aware that in my personal life I was organizing a protest against Turning Point USA. That is a personal decision that I made. It had nothing to do with this board. We had a good conversation about that. But I'm allowed to participate in my personal life in that way. When I came to the Turning Point USA event as a personal, as a person with my personal, my own intents, my convictions, I had a very good time there. I met people that were there for the event outside. We had really good conversations. There were two young men specifically that I spent an hour with probably talking to. I was on live the whole time, so if you'd like to watch that, you can go to my profile and watch that. That might help you understand better where my heart really is with that situation. I know nothing about the man with the sign. I saw that it was there. I was completely appalled by the sign. So I don't know where this idea of me being pro-violence is coming from. It's not true. Everyone in this room that knows me knows that's not true. I've never once done any violent thing in my life or done anything violent in my life. And that's also not true. And so I'm not sure, there's some political dramas going on here that are personal, that have nothing to do with education and nothing to do with my role as a board member. Some people here disagree with me personally, and they like to attempt to find issues with everything that I do. You'll find that too in your career as you go on and you do great things that I know you will. Even though we have disagreements about things, it doesn't mean I don't support you 100%. You're a passionate young person. I support passionate young people. You are going to be a leader. You already are a leader. You put on a huge event that was successful. Just because I disagree with the organization does not mean I disagree with you as a human being. Again, I completely am against any kind of political violence, any kind of violence in general, and I just hope that you trust that. And if you want to talk about it more later, I'm welcome. I'm happy to. Thanks for listening.
And do you want to just remind the audience to please just listen when someone's speaking? Diesel Delello.
Just going to move that real quick. Good evening, everyone. My name is Diesel Delello. I'm a student at Foothill High School and the Turning Point USA president there. I was the MC for the event and one of the hosts of the event. And although you can say that, you know, your personal beliefs are something different than you being on this board, you have to consider the power that you have and the impact you have on people and their opinions, and you have to also consider people's parents and what they think about it. Something I wanted to touch on was my mother has a large concern for me for what I do, and it's mostly because there are people who go out there and hold signs that say watch your neck, things like that, and it concerns her and it concerns other parents too. We had multiple students who I invited to come volunteer there who did not come volunteer because their mothers who were conservative said no because they were concerned something might happen to them. And you liking a post that has a sign that says watch your neck on it, I believe is just adding to that concern for parents, and I think you're a parent too. To my knowledge, you are a parent, and you have to consider that concern and the impact you have on people. You're also a public official, so you do have your personal life, but you serve on this board and you have an opinion and an impact on everyone. I don't really have much else to say other than that, so I will cede the rest of my time. Thank you.
Yes.
My thing's not working. I don't know what's going on. Diesel, I just want to respond to you also individually because, again, I respect that you're a young person that's in a leadership role that's doing things in this community, and I support you regardless I support the event that you're putting on. I still support you in leading things that are based on your convictions. I truly do. For 20 years, I worked with teenagers for teaching them leadership skills, so that's my total heart. I support both of you guys. This idea that I liked a sign that was violent is, I can't say because I'm not seeing what it is, but I do not like that sign, period. I don't like it. I think it's horrible. I told the man myself when I saw him that I did not agree with it, that I thought it was horrible. I was not the one that put on that protest, so there's nothing I can do about it. But I certainly am against violence of any kind. As a mother, like you mentioned, yes, I am afraid for my own life and what happens to me and my children, even on the opposite end of the spectrum, right? Where violence of any kind from either side is totally unacceptable, and I don't support that on either side. So I just want you to know that.
Thank you. Benjamin Millay.
All right. So I did want to speak out on Jessica's behalf. I've actually known her for quite some time. She's an incredibly, she's a lot of integrity. She serves her community regardless of the politics that surround her. And I just, want to bring it to this board's attention that this isn't anything other than political grandstanding to try to diminish somebody's position, to try to convince the community that this person isn't fit to serve. Same thing is happening across boards. I do kind of find it ironic that some of these same individuals support an Anderson City Council member who essentially is being berated for social media comments. Now, in that scenario, this individual was effectively spreading conspiracies about an institution that is proving harmful to people who run that institution and even the students that would attend that institution. And they passed a social media ordinance for that effect. Now, the man in question, I actually know him, the man with the sign. His name's Oliver. He's a provocateur. I've told him many times that it's not going to help his cause if he's trying to, make a statement. That statement begets violence. And that individual was not in any way connected with anybody at that event. He was actually told, stand over there. We don't want to be associated to you. Yet I see social media posts all over the place that are like, hey, this is what these people stand for. There was over 200 people there, and they chose that person because he was the provocateur. Now, I don't expect anything different. I think people on the other side of the political spectrum might do the same thing. But see it for what it is.
Thank you. Is there any other member of the public wishing to speak that has not had a chance to?
So, Jessica, you know that was a faith event. It was not a political event. You admitted right here in front of this board that you organized that event. That's very interesting. You are an elected official, and this country only stands because we have this republic and moral people sitting in the seat that you're sitting in. It is a First Amendment right for us to have a faith event, and that's a protected class of people that you say that you are a Christian. And yet, are you done? Okay, good to know. Our founding fathers have a perfect republic that says that we can keep it. So I'm going to tell you something that our own former President Barack Obama said. At these moments, America has carried on not simply because of the skill or vision of those in high office, but because we, the people, have remained faithful to the ideals of our forebears and true to our founding documents. Take that back to, we had a right to have a faith event. We were worshiping God, and we were telling people about our faith. And you thought it to be something that you could make controversial. It's protected. It's not. It wasn't controversial. It wasn't at all that. And you did like that post. We have the screenshots to prove it. Not to mention that hit list that my name is on that says not a hit list, just like this, not a hit list. You then wanted to add Jackie Rababella to the list. And Teresa, you're on the list. Given we're talking about Charlie Kirk, who was assassinated, and then watch your neck, and then let's go and add people to a hit list, that is not you standing on the morals of this country, and it means that no matter what needs to happen, you need to be out of this seat. You don't deserve it.
I'm not sure if this is Jessica or Jacob that wants to speak, because it says your email, but Jacob's name.
So, yeah, it was me. I did ask to speak. So, again, I have less to say to the adults in the room because you guys all know better. You know that people, you just said we all have a First Amendment right. That does not disqualify me from the same right. I'm allowed to go to an event and speak my mind regardless of what position I hold, and you should know that concerning everyone else here does the same thing. But again, I do not agree with violence I do not like violence. I've never said that violence was okay to any human being, so I would appreciate if you quit using the taxpayers' money and the platform of SCOE to come back here over and over again to cause political drama. That's all I have to say.
All right, if there's no other public comment, we will move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Is there someone that will make a motion to approve the consent agenda? Or are there any board members that wish to take any items off of the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Robert. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on approving the consent agenda? All right, then we will do a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. None. All right, thank you. It carries 6-1. Carrying on item 6, information item, administrative services, general fund and early childhood services financial snapshot board report. Any questions about that from any of the board members? All right, on item 7, action items. The first one is administrative services and the second interim budget. Is there any motions we can begin discussion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion.
Okay.
As you know, we all met last week, and one of our budget, we have a $10 million surplus that we're dividing up and trying to figure out what we're going to do with that. And yesterday, Mike Freeman was at the Board of Supervisors' office asking for that HHSS fund in the tune of $385,000. He talked about how we would use that fund specifically for mental health dollars from HSA, and our community school is supposed to be helping out with counseling, all sorts of things. And in that, he was talking about how, as a board, we could have fully funded Anderson and South County ourselves. Chris Kallstrom asked you if it was something that the superintendent pulled away from South County, and you admitted that that was something that you had done unilaterally, but it wasn't a decision of our board. But you had done that on yourself, or Judy had, one of you guys, and then we could have funded it as a board, but we never got the opportunity to vote for that. So I think that in the future, if there's something that you'd like to add, all of us are in agreement. We've always passed the budget so that we could fully fund schools and get them the connections that they need. I don't think that was a big ask to ask us to vote for it. But being that said, we got $385,000 yesterday from the county. And Mike was talking about how we were already fully funded in that, and we're using our own dollars, so now we're bringing that $385,000 into our budget. And given the situation that is happening in Happy Valley School District, I'd like to make a motion that we support the families out there that are going through a hard time in the school district that's having the situation. So out there, it's all public record. You can go look at it. Unfortunately, the victims' names have been posted on mailboxes and been distributed throughout the whole thing, so these kids' names are out there. It's been blasted on social media. It's really horrible what's going on, and I'd really like to give children and their families support services. I know Mike and the team have been working on that and figuring out what the county's role is there, what is our jurisdiction. Under the education code, it talks about how we're supposed to support them. We don't have jurisdiction over other school districts, so we can't tell them what to do, but we could offer them support. And a lot of the school districts, they don't have the means to hire lawyers because lawyers are expensive. But since we're getting that $385,000 in additional funds, I think that we can budget some of that money to help out with any legal fees that might arise, because legal fees could add up really quickly to $50,000 to $75,000. So getting that money from the county and being able to use up to $385,000 would be a great service to our community, and let all the other school districts know if something horrible happens in your district that we are here to support you. So that's where my motion comes from, to make an amendment to the budget. So my motion is I move that the Shasta County Board of Education approve the reallocation of $385,000 in unused county funds originally designed for community schools to fund an independent third-party investigation and to provide support services for families affected by the situation in Happy Valley Union School District. This action is consistent with the requirements of the California Education Code 200 and 220 and 234.1 to ensure safe learning environments and proper investigations of allegations involving student safety, as well as the authority granted to the County Office of Education under 1040, 1042, and 1040 again to provide oversight and support to school districts to protect student welfare. So that's my motion.
Austin, want to speak? I appreciate the question and the motion. I just would like to provide a little bit of information prior to the board potentially considering action on that item. So you are correct, Trustee Gorman, that when the funding from the county for Community Connect was discontinued, there was a decision that was made to use an additional restricted funding source through community schools to help cover some of the costs that were associated with Community Connect so that those services could continue within the interim, right? We're talking about two restricted funding sources, right? And so it was not an unrestricted contribution that was made. I think that is what Superintendent Freeman was referencing. He said that the board could have looked at the unrestricted fund balance board assignment and could have chose to cover the cost of Community Connect for Anderson Union High School out of the future priorities in the fund balance. And so I just want everyone here to be aware that although the $385,000 was provided by the Board of Supervisors yesterday, that is a restricted funding source. The funding that we are currently using to cover it is restricted funding source. And so there's no, it's not like we got $385,000 from them, and so the money that we were using to float that can go towards this because they're restricted funding sources. However, similar to what Superintendent Freeman mentioned about the fund balance and the board assignments, we talked for quite a while at the board planning session last week, and I felt like we had a really robust, good conversation about the fund balance. And really, when you look at the other obligations that we have and things that this board has already committed to, that future priorities is really closer to that $4.6 million. There's other changes that could be done in there to get it closer to that $10 million, but there would need to be action that would be taken to do that. But $4.6 million is the amount that's in the budget that is designated to future priorities, and this board would have the ability to look at those funds. At the planning session, we also had a lot of robust conversation about some other future priorities that may come at a significant cost, and so we would just need to weigh the board would just need to weigh the priorities within that future fund balance. Jessica, I believe, and that says Jacob.
We gotta fix that. So I just have a question about the Happy Valley School. Are they a Community Connect school? Do you know? No? Do they have Community Connect there?
Good question. Wherever
Because I would suggest, I'm sure they're already referring students and their families to Community Connect, but they can get therapy through those services, and I'm always for support of students in schools. That's why I love the Community Connect program, and I think that that would be our role in it. I would, even if we were able to provide money, I'd be worried that where does the line get drawn, because sexual abuse cases happen all over all the time, unfortunately. So I'd be worried that we would be somehow choosing this particular instance over others, I give my time to author.
Okay. So I think especially when it comes to children that if we do should have sexual abuse in our schools, that our schools in Shasta County should be the safest schools in all of California. And I think if problems arise like this and it happens in another one, we should be helping them, especially when we have $4.6 million that we could use. We should fund, lawyers and legal support. Now, I know that the school doesn't have to take that support, right? But if we were to offer that to schools in situations where these things happen, and it's gone through the chain of command, it's moved up, it's going to the state, it's going to attorneys, and the school does have a need that they can't afford, I think it's our obligation as the Shasta County Board of Education to step in, not just use your authority, but to offer the assistance when we have the funds available. And so I would, for any case that involves children's sexual abuse, I would be all for funding lawyers to go after criminals.
Mike Freeman. I appreciate the discussion, and I appreciate highlighting the situation this September for our board planning session. March 4th, looking at Title IX investigation support from the school, supporting the school. I think in that March 4th conversation, we also showed that there are a couple of situations. So Happy Valley is one of probably three or four that we've been supporting. And when I say support, superintendent reaches out to us, Carrie Freeman, our communication director, and supports with communication supports. Claudia's been working very closely with the superintendent in some of these districts that have situations like this. This has also come up, and Tom, I did forward you the speaker request link, so you could chime in. But Tom has also had the conversation with the legalities of providing Title IX investigation support with our superintendents, because that's actually that's a little more complicated than I think all of us want it to be, unfortunately. I appreciate this motion. I would just ask, I would also echo what Hanson said with the future priorities and the infant violence designation the board can assign for support like this. I would just want to make sure that we will have the opportunity to share thoughts on support services and what support services would be allowed, and just to make sure we're not violating public gift of funds. And also to the extent of there may be multiple districts with similar situations. So I appreciate what Dr. just showed as far as the funding that has been allocated. If there's funding available, then that funding will be able to provide that support. Laura?
I think Mike just answered my question. My concern is about the legalities of it and what we can do as a county board, whether we have the authority to do something like this. I'm also concerned about getting in over our head if we make a promise that any district we're going to come to the rescue. And so I think we would have to be pretty careful about defining exactly what support is and what we're offering to districts. And then my other question is just about this motion isn't part of the agenda, so I'm not sure if it's even something that we can vote on. I'm not clear on that.
Tom?
Thank you. Good evening, board members. Superintendent Freeman raises a good point about it is a longer discussion if a county board wants to provide support in monetary fashion to schools. I can say generally that county offices of education provide all kinds of monetary support to school districts throughout the county. But if there was a specific proposal on the table about Title IX support or something like that more generally, that's something that, to your point, Laura, isn't on the agenda today and would require further discussion just to make sure that whatever is being proposed is lawful. That said, I think this board can make a motion that they would like to offer an amendment to the second interim budget, and then it would be up to Mr. Preller and Superintendent Freeman and fiscal staff to determine if and how that can be carried out from a budgetary sense, not a legal sense. I appreciate and defer to Mr. Preller's expertise on do we have unrestricted funds in in the money available from your last week's planning session that could be used instead of the restricted funds that Mr. Gorman's motion speaks to. So as long as this discussion is tied to a motion to offer amendments or recommendations on the second interim, it's appropriate, but I appreciate Laura's concern that at some point, if we get off topic into Title IX services generally, that's something for a future agenda item, and I hope I've answered all of your questions.
So, Arthur, was your intent to amend, just to offer Title IX money for investigations? Is that what your intent was with your motion?
Yeah.
Are you wanting to keep it specific just to Happy Valley?
No, I mean, I would like to have it as a budget item, because it's our second interim, and we can make an amendment to it. And since we have unrestricted funds available to us, $4.6 million, I'm not saying to add that into the fund, but I knew that we got the $385,000 coming our way, so I thought that would be a good reason that we have some extra dollars coming our way. In most cases, and Tom can tell us if I'm wrong, but it could add up to $125,000 really quickly. So having up to like $200,000 in a legal fund where schools could come and ask us for legal assistance as needed. They don't have to take us up on it, but it would be budgeted and available to them if they wanted our help. So I think as the county, we could offer assistance in that way in addition to the support services that we're already offering.
Okay, and offering an amendment, that would be acceptable. Correct.
I believe so. It is slightly unusual, so I would want fiscal staff to look at it and say, yes, we can do that within budgetary constraints or not. It may not be something that we can answer on the fly to gum up the works, as they say. So I would ask the board to consider and offer the amendment and let fiscal staff figure out how to make that work.
Austin?
I appreciate that input, Tom. I think what I would say is, what we have in the fund balance here, where you see the total board assignments and we have the future priorities designated as 4.6, that is within the jurisdiction of the board to designate those funds, right? We don't currently have it designated within the second interim budget that we're asking for approval. Of course, all of you know that timelines with budgets are incredibly important. We had the long conversation last week in hopes that we would get some clarity around the fund balance and the budget so that we'd come here and get the approval tonight. So I think if there was a motion on the table to allocate funds from the $4.6 million, that would be a motion that was made that the second interim budget had conditional approval with the addition of those funds being added to the budget, and prior to our deadline to get the second interim budget to the state within the required timeline, that we would make that change so that it was reflected in the second interim budget. And then the other, just again, thing that I would ask you all to consider as you think about this motion would be that legal costs, unfortunately, are significant across every single district in this county. We're talking about $4.6 million of one-time funds. This is our savings account. Once these funds are gone, they're gone. We had a conversation about expelled youth as a future priority. If we were to allocate $125,000 of legal support equitably across all 24 districts in the county, it would be $3 million. That makes a significant dent into that 4.6. So it is at your pleasure how that 4.6 is allocated and spent, and you can make that motion. I just think that we need to consider all of the ramifications, considering that this board serves several districts throughout the county that all have legal challenges at one point or another during the school year.
say this with all sensitivity to the families that are involved and the schools that are involved. As we discussed in our planning session, the administrative burden when an incident like this happens is very difficult for some of our smaller school districts in Shasta County. I would just also want to highlight some of the promise in the conversations that we had in that planning session with regards to where that $4.6 million could go. Specifically, we were having conversations about how we might be able to support expelled youth services and actually get into expelled youth settings, right, with brick and mortar school. And so the board can make a motion to amend the second interim, and we can work with our fiscal to make those things happen in time for our state deadlines. I would just want to make sure that we do have an understanding that that is one-time in nature, and we do have other priorities that have been discussed as a board.
Jackie, you said you wanted to speak, and Robert, are you having trouble getting into the speaker's queue? Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I support that amendment, and I understand the constraints and the fund balance and how many schools that we service. But I think that designating funds for Title IX investigations on complaints against children is something that we should prioritize. Unfortunately, our investigators and our law firms are inundated with this right now, and so the more support that we can offer, again, understanding the fiscal restraints that we have in the future, I would support that. And I also support the fact that we are a creative, smart board, and we can put together a limit, a cap, we can be very specific in those designated funds. So let's not be scared.
Robert, did you want to speak?
I'm curious. I have a question about the students involved. I mean, are mental health services being made available to the students? I mean, to my thinking, that's the primary obligation that this board has to the schools and students and parents in this district is to ensure that the students involved are receiving the best mental health care available. As far as the legal issues are concerned, I can't see that taking up the legal obligation is this board's duty at all. I mean, we would have that duty to every school district in the county if we provided it to one, and I'm hesitant to step off that particular cliff because we do not have unlimited funds. I mean, we have a nice reserve because we've been very frugal and we've been saving for years and years and years, but we should not spend it all without careful consideration about the obligations that we will be creating for this board and for future boards of education regarding our relationship with the districts. So make sure mental health is available by the students and the families. And that's pretty much my point. So thank you. Thank you.
Teresa, you wanted to speak?
Yeah, you know what Jackie said what I was actually going to say. Yay. Yeah, we're pretty smart. I'm sure we can figure out a cap. I'm sure, these are kids. These are kids. This is the generation. This is the next generation. And they're worth the investment. They're worth the investment.
I also want to point to the board, part of our March 4th planning session, we talked about superintendent priorities and some of the conversations that we've been having around district supports. And so while we are looking at $4.6 million as future board priorities in that ending fund balance, we also have the opportunity to, in that priority number 4 partnership, we can designate funds that are in that $2 million superintendent priorities for this purpose as well, right? For the Title IX investigations and for support of districts, as long as it does meet the legal and the allowables for use of public funds. So the 4.6 can be there, and we can go into that superintendent priority, and we can allocate in that priority number 4 under partnerships with our districts. The spirit of this motion could be that we would take that cap, the board can establish what that designation is, and we would go into those funds that are available.
So I guess Tom does also need to amend the motion that he currently has in place in order to meet the requirements that we've discussed right now. Point of order. Jackie.
Point of order. I want the motion clarified that we're talking about independent third-party investigations and not necessarily just legal to defend these cases. I just want to be clear. Like, you're making say legal, but I'm thinking third-party investigations. I'm making sure we're on the same page.
Robert, what was your point of order?
Well, my point of order is that this item is not agendized.
It is agendized under the second interim budget. It's an amendment to the budget. Okay.
So Trustee Gorman is the master of his motion, so I would leave it to him to clarify it.
Yes, let me clarify the motion. I move that Shasta County Board of Education approve the reallocation of the superintendent priorities listed at the 1.863.472 to be used for an independent third-party investigation that provides services to the families of the affected Happy Valley Union School District and other districts if they would like to use our funds, knowing that they don't have to, but it is available to them up to and including $200,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Laura, did you have a comment?
Well, I'm not clear what we're voting on. Because I thought the way Mike explained it was different than the way you voiced it there. That it has, does it even have to specifically call out these students? Or, I don't know. It seemed like you were talking about a more general, flexible approach, and this is very specific, so I don't know what we're voting on.
Yeah, so based on the motion that Arthur just made, in our budget, we would be looking at superintendent priority, that amount, and $200,000 of that being designated in priority 4 partnerships with the specific designation of Title IX, independent Title IX investigation support. And the amount suggested in the motion is $200,000.
So the $200,000, it's a one-time, or it's for all school, we're promising that to any school, $200,000, or just that's the one-time?
It's a one-time.
Correct. So we will be going to districts, we will be going to superintendents, and actually Claudia's been having this conversation, and Title IX investigation support has come out of those district needs, and so we will be going to them, and we will be indicating that with the second interim budget approved, we have $200,000 available one-time funding to be able to provide support for independent Title IX investigations should the need arise. And when it's done, it's done.
So is that...
And so actually here...
Is that clarified in the motion that it's one time? Because the way you said it made it sound like it would be available to any school, $200,000.
So, Laura, it would be under the superintendent priority budget item in the ending fund balance, which by default is one time in nature.
I have a question. Would these funds be limited to only schools who are involved in the Title IX investigation?
Thank you. Jackie?
Also, schools do a lot of Title IX investigations, and they're not always complaints against children. I mean, adults, they're also children, so I would want to make sure that we're offering support for the crimes or alleged crimes against children. That's kind of what I was thinking, because if we just open it up to Title IX, we'll get all kinds of stuff. Is that not legal to say or nice, or?
I'm looking at Trustee Gorman because I believe, and I don't want to misstate his motion, but I believe that that was the intent of the motion, was to help with support and investigation services for affected students. Thank you.
Jessica?
So when we say Title IX investigations, that means any Title IX investigation, right? For children. So if a parent claims that there was an issue with the child and a teacher, for example, we could support that. They could access the funds for that. Okay.
And your motion is for Happy Valley, right? So this is Title IX investigations affecting children at Happy Valley, correct?
Yeah, and then through the discussion, when we remade the motion, clarify it was students involved in Happy Valley, but any school district that might have a Title IX that arises with our one-time money, could be available to them as well.
Okay, up to $200,000.
$200,000 is just one-time money.
So,
Jessica?
sorry. So just to clarify again, any Title IX complaint for a child in Shasta County, not just Happy Valley. So we wouldn't say Happy Valley because it's for everyone, right? Yeah, just making sure. I would just think like the less complicated the better. It's confusing to me too. Yeah.
Mike?
Just going to appreciate that clarification, because that Title IX investigation cycle or process is well underway in Happy Valley, and I believe that district is awaiting a Title IX report, summary of their investigation. So I believe that extending this amendment to all districts in Shasta County as it relates to Title IX involving children, I think that is a wise move.
Any other comments or questions? All right, and it has been moved and seconded. We can do a roll call vote on it. Jessica?
Can author re-clarify his motion, since we went back and forth a million times?
I move that Shasta County Board of Education approve reallocating funds from the superintendent's priority of $200,000 in unrestricted funds of one-time money up to $200,000 to fund independently third-party investigations of Title IX to any school district in Shasta County.
Thank you. Yes.
Practice. Affecting students.
And you asked me my vote, and I said, yeah.
I haven't done the roll call vote yet.
Oh, I thought you...
No, you popped up as wanting to speak.
I don't know why this thing's going crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now we can, if there's no other comments or questions. All right, Jacob.
Aye.
Abby.
Aye.
Arthur. Aye. Teresa.
Aye.
Laura. Aye. Jessica.
Aye.
Robert. Aye. Jackie.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. So we still need to pass the second interim budget. We made an amendment. So now we need a motion to pass the budget as amended.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget as amended.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I have a second.
Thank you, Teresa. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion on the second interim budget as amended? All right, then we will do a roll call vote on passing the second interim budget as well. Jackie?
Aye.
Robert? Aye. Jessica? Laura? Aye. Teresa?
Aye.
Arthur? Aye. Abby?
Aye.
Jacob? Aye. And I vote aye as well. to action item 2, the 7-Eleven committee selection process. Superintendent Freeman, did you want to address that?
Yeah, the person to address that in this isn't just left the room, so we'll go ahead and talk 7-Eleven. The response has been robust to participate in the 7-Eleven committee. In our last meeting, we did have representatives from Adam Smith give us an overview regarding a refresher on the 7-Eleven process. 7-Eleven committee process is designed to help engage the community in the discussion around surplus properties and liquidation, the use of surplus properties and the liquidation of surplus properties. And I believe I have the latest. We are currently at 33 applicants to participate in our 7-Eleven committee, which is a great opportunity / challenge. So we've brought it to the board because we are looking for board action to be able to determine how do we get 33 applicants down to 7/11. So a maximum of 11. I think Tom's friend last month already spoke to the composition requirements. So we do want to be mindful that the community reform does meet the composition requirements as it's outlined in statute. And I'll ask if Mr. Feller has anything to add or corrections or retractions from you.
All right, is there any, Jackie?
So I was thinking about how we can do this, and my first thought was with 33 we could just do a lottery, but when you bring up the point about the composition, I don't know how a lottery would work in that regard, unless the percentage of everything we pulled would fall out no matter what. But so other than a lottery, I don't know how you would do it. I mean, if they've already applied and those 33 meet all the requirements of that application process, then the next step is worrying about composition in what, Tom? In it having to be a certain percentage of community members, business owners, stake, like what is that? And you don't have to answer that if just generally speaking a lottery would work and be legal.
Thank you, and I apologize. I didn't hit the request to speak link, but I think I'm just going to respond to Trustee Lombard's very good question. So the section 17389 in the Education Code just says 7 to 11 members. That's why we call it that, of course. And then it has to be each of the 7 categories, A through G. And I won't read them right now. But I think to your question, you could perhaps assign everyone to a category that is clear that they fit in. Business community, store owners, this statute says store owners, managers, or supervisors. You could say, okay, there's 3 people that fit this, and they haven't identified themselves as another category. And then once you've put everyone on the list, ask yourself, are there any gaps? If there are any gaps, then figure out how to fill it. If there's no gaps, you could do a lottery. Or alternatively, it is a very discretionary selection process, or alternatively, you could do some sort of qualifications review. Does that help?
Yes, that does help. And I think as far as using more discretion, the reason I'm not in favor of using something more discretionary is because I want everybody to have a chance to be in the community if they've applied. And I don't want it to look like we're hand-picking everybody to figure out what to do with their property surpluses. So I would be in support of some type of lottery.
Yeah, I think you could do the lottery by doing the categories. So if you have the category land use planning, you go through your list and see all the people that would be eligible for that, and maybe do a lottery for that category. And then the people that don't make it, they're back. Okay. Toss them back in. Now you do your next restrictive. I can't remember what the categories are. If it was like business owner, okay, how the people who picked that one, you didn't make it, you go back in, and eventually you're going to get to the most wide-reaching one would be like community member or whatever, and so everybody that remains is in that one. So I think you have several lotteries, but I agree with you. I think if you start to get into hand-picking, and then people can get mad and questioning, second-guessing. So I like the idea of the lottery, but I think you have to be pretty strategic with it.
Yeah, Mike?
I would just ask that as the board considers a motion and possible action, is that the question would just be who is directed to do the lottery pick. Is that, hey, staff, go ahead and take care of this? Is that assigning a board member? Is that, so I would just love for the action that the board takes to be clear about directing actually who's doing what Laura just described.
Austin. Yes, and one final piece of consideration is that within the application process, we did anticipate that the board would take action to vote to approve the committee members at the April regularly scheduled meeting so that they can be notified that following Friday whether they're placed on the committee or not to meet our timeline of being able to have our first meeting. So whatever selection process is identified here and by whom, the hope would be that the recommendation for the 7-Eleven committee members would be finalized a week in advance of the April board meeting so that it can be agendized and that action can be taken to formally place them on the committee. So Austin, could theoretically that lottery take place at the April meeting and we could then notify them after that? I would defer to Tom on the agendizing of the lottery at the meeting and then voting to approve the lottery members. Actually, you could do it either way. You could say to staff, please carry out a lottery based on Jackie's description or Laura's description. Bring us the results. And if there's any gaps left, then you could say, bring us the results within the gaps and we'll fill the gaps. So it could be done either way. Staff does it ahead of time and brings it to you, or the lottery is conducted in real time. Up to you. I imagine staff might have a slight preference for doing it ahead of time. No, actually. Okay, Austin said no.
I think we should do it.
Arthur?
I always like marketing, so if we could make this somehow interactive. I mean, we're not going to get 33 people here in the building, maybe. We could do that, and we can have like some kind of AI-generated lottery thing with the people's names, and then it picks it out. And we could present them with a fake big check or something. but a lot of people just don't know what we do, and so if we can make it fun, interactive, and people have some joy, and we provide some kind of refreshments and make it somewhat of a big deal, maybe we'd have a little bit more buy-in from our community, and they can understand the process of the 7-Eleven, why they're being picked, the seriousness of it, because we do have 2 properties that we're really needing to offload, and we want our 4 properties that we're looking to offload. So we need them to be committed, and I'm all for getting people on the committee, but they have to be people that are committed to doing the work, because we could appoint 7 to 11 of them, and they never show up. So I mean, the seriousness of the matter is we need them to show up and do the work, and like reward them for doing it, whether it's refreshments or whatever they can do. 7-Eleven Slurpees. Anything we can do to make it fun, interactive, and enjoyable, because we want them to come back and do the work. And I don't know how long the process is, but I'm probably sure it's more than 1 month and 1 meeting. So if we can interact with these people and get them involved, however we can do that, I'm all for doing the 7-Eleven committee and maybe doing it at the next meeting if that's appropriate, or make it a big deal, making it an additional meeting for the 7-Eleven.
Mike?
I would just probably lean over a comment. By the way, Slurpee is my love language, so I'm with you on that idea. But as we look at April will be also in the process of beginning the recruiting timeline for our student board members. We'll be looking at student board member applications and determining who to interview. And so I'm just mindful of agenda time, using board meeting time to conduct the lottery versus conducting the lottery in a separate event like authors.
Motions anyone wants to make as to how we conduct the lottery or when?
I would be more comfortable if the board did the lottery.
So you'd prefer to do it at the April meeting? Okay. Austin?
I just feel like there's 2 points that need clarification. Who is taking the 33 applications and then putting them into qualified categories? Because as I'm understanding, the discussion would be taking the applications, putting them into one of the 7 fields for which they fit, and then from each of those 7 fields, pulling a random draw. So there's 2 steps. There's the separating them into the qualified categories and then the lottery, but both need to be addressed.
So I would support staff categorizing and forming the things to draw.
Yeah, I think it could get really complicated doing it at a public meeting, like we do this category and now I don't know, I'd rather have it done before it comes to the meeting.
Any other thoughts from board members? Or any motions? Jessica?
I just feel like that's more of an administrative task that could be done by staff. So I think that that a lottery would be something that they would be able to do best.
Tom? Thank you. I clicked the button. I don't know if it came across yet. It is not. Another option is for the board to delegate 1 or 2 board members perhaps to do the fun lottery before the board meeting with desired refreshments, Slurpees perhaps, and bring those results there. Arthur?
Yeah, I second Tom's motion. No, just kidding. Yeah, I do like the help of the staff because you guys do a great job. And if you could categorize that for all of us and just make it a fun, enjoyable night where we can sit in this room and have something on the screen and each category. I don't know if there's an application out that does that because I'm not the inventor of these things, but I'm pretty sure there's something online that we could plug the names in and it would kind of shuffle it over. It probably wouldn't take that long, especially if there's only 7 categories and we have so many applicants. It might go just really fast. Once we start the process, and I'm all for passing a motion to do it on a separate day with the staff's support in making the categories and finding a solution for us to do that.
So are you making that motion?
With 1 or 2 members?
With 1 or 2 board members?
Because of all of it, well, I'm just thinking out loud, if all of us are there, it should be a special meeting. But I'm not opposed to have everybody there. It would be nice to have everybody in the same room. If you don't want to come, that's fine. So I don't know, would that be a Brown Act violation if we were all here in support of the 7-11 committee if we weren't discussing it?
If a quorum shows up, you're going to want to call it as a special board meeting. If 1 or 2 show up, that's an ad hoc assignment for a project that would not require a special meeting.
Well, I guess the discussion would be, does everybody want to come? And if not,
So Jessica, are you up or did I not?
I'm up.
Okay.
So I think I love the idea if the staff prepared it and categorized it so that it was just, if your intent is to embrace and excite the community about participating in a community for Scully, I think that's a great idea. I think in that case, it would be most impactful if it were a special meeting because then the entire board would be here. We could have student board members here, whoever could be here, and for it to be a fun thing. I do like the idea of the intent of getting the community invested in something that is more fun, so I would be in support of that.
Jacob? I just want to clarify something. So how many categories do we have?
If it's okay with you, I'll read them briefly. This is from Education Code Section 17389. Again, it's 7 to 11 members. There are only 7 categories, so you can have multiple members in 1 or more categories. So number 1, this is persons that represent the ethnic, age group, and socioeconomic composition of the district. That's the broadest one. Next, the business community such as store owners, managers, or supervisors. Third, landowners or renters, with preference to be given to representatives of neighborhood associations. Fourth, teachers. Fifth, administrators. Sixth, parents of students. And seventh, persons with expertise in environmental impact, legal, building, land use planning, zoning, and so on. And we have to fulfill several categories, one person each. So what category, do we have to figure this out now, what category we have to double up on? So we want 2 teachers, 2 parents. Go ahead. That's a great question, and I was going to ask that too to make sure that we were clear in preparing what this lottery would look like. I think one consideration that the board could take on that would be to put them into their 7 categories, do the lottery from those 7. Those that do not win the lottery for their category go into an at-large lottery, and there are 4 members taken from that at-large lottery. Would be a way that I would suggest, but it could be done other ways. Yeah. So, do you want to make a motion to call a special meeting? Yes, it is. I will make a motion to call a special meeting, let's say April 13th, 2 days before our meeting, which gives us time to do some stuff if we want. All right, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
I'll second. It's okay.
Jessica seconds. Is there any further discussion on having a special meeting on April 13th for discussion of the 7-11 committee? Robert, did you want to speak? All right, then we can do a roll call vote. Let's see, Robert? Aye. Jessica? Laura? Aye. Teresa? Aye. Arthur? Aye. Abby? Aye. Jacob? Aye. Becky? Aye. And I vote aye as well.
What time will it be? Do we know?
Teresa? Did you have a question?
What time?
Oh, what time? The same time, 6 o'clock? Same time, gives people to get off of work and get their Slurpees in here. Okay. Mike?
So just to clarify, and Tom, I just want to make sure that we're okay. So if there was a special 2 days before the regular board meeting agenda, then that agenda item in that April regular board meeting will be to approve the 7-11 committee members. But as long as there's an understanding that there will be no backup documentation with results in the packet, because 2 days before we will be bringing those to the meeting and sharing those with everyone.
So the public would need to see that?
No, it's fine to say TBD or similar.
Well, in the write-up, we could actually say that the results will be, the lottery will be performed on the 13th, and the results will be shared in the meeting. We just won't have it as backup.
All right, Marlon, we're on action item 2.2, hire separate legal counsel for the board. Jackie, I believe you are the one to address this item.
Yes, thank you, President Orlicki. So as all of my fellow trustees are aware, Ed Code 35041.5 basically mandates that we share the same legal appointment as the Office of Education and the Superintendent. But there is also a provision in Ed Code 1042 that says for special services or advice on a limited basis or for second opinions, we can hire joint county counsel. And so I would like to make a motion to do that. I reached out to Orange County Board of Education because ACCBE gave me them as a reference as having just done this for something specific that I want to look at. So I do have a recommendation, but I think right now my motion would just be that we could explore joint legal counsel. I have something that I do want to specifically explore with them already for second opinion. I don't know if I need to state what that is or if I can just petition my fellow board members to explore joint legal counsel. Thank you.
Sorry. Any comments or questions for Jackie? Laura?
Yeah, just a question, and I have some more comments, but yeah, my question is, when I read this, it seems like there's a bigger picture, and I don't know what the full story is, so yeah, I'd like to know.
Yeah, so I want to get a second opinion on designations and authorizations, which is how the board is, the power structure is. So, there's things that legislative will have a responsibility and Scully has a responsibility, but sometimes over the course of time, the board will sign authorizations and designations over to them just for a faster speed, getting things through. And so I just want a separate legal counsel to sit down and to look at our designations and authorizations and figure out what our power structure currently looks like.
Did you have more questions or comments, Laura?
Yeah, let me look at my notes here, because I remember taking some notes. I guess a big thing for me would be the cost, and I wouldn't want to vote on something without knowing what the cost would be because doubling up on lawyer fees seems like not the best use of public funds, so that would be one of my questions, and I would want to know that before we voted on it. And then, I don't know, I don't really have this us versus them mindset. I've always seen my role here on the board as working collaboratively, and so I'm concerned about it from that point too, and I appreciate Lozano Smith. We've always had good advice from them. They write really good briefings after court rulings, and they're helpful, and they have a good podcast. So I don't know, just to me this seems unnecessary.
Yes, thank you. I understand. And I'm not saying that I want to replace Lozano Smith. I've been working with them for over 4 years. I have a relationship with Lozano Smith, with several of their lawyers. So no, I don't want to replace them, but it is our right to have a second opinion. And I'm telling you as an individual trustee, I want a second opinion. So my motion is not to do that or approve that, but that we can explore it, that I can bring cost projections of what looking at. And I might not be the only one with a second opinion. That's one. Someone might have another issue they want a second opinion on. So if tonight there are, then we can specifically explore an option of hiring for that limited scope, and then we can bring that back with the projected costs. Would you be more comfortable with that?
So we wouldn't be approving it, we would be discussing it. Bringing it back with discussion.
Exploring it? Yeah, well, just allowing, I guess, giving permission for some of us to explore it and reach out to these law firms and figure out what it would be categorically, for, like I said, right now we only have one thing on the table, that's designations and authorizations, how much that would cost, what that timeline would look like, and then I can bring that back for a vote.
Do you have any other comments or questions, Jessica?
My first question was that I was missing the whole picture, but now I understand the whole picture. And I do think I agree that there's nothing wrong with having a second opinion. And I also agree that sometimes as a board member, I feel like conversations for legal are more focused on the Board of Education as a whole or the Office of Education itself, and not so much this board specifically, so I would not disagree with having a different law firm for second opinions available.
I also support finding a second law firm, because there have been times when things that come up in here and we seem to get advice on one way, but one thing was amending the budget a couple months ago, it was not allowed, but then tonight we're able to do it. So those are just questions that I have, whether that's just the presiding officer's choice or if that's actually something we can legally do. So that is one thing I can think of would be good. So I think Jackie made a motion, I'd be happy to second that motion. And is there any further discussion or comments? Mike?
Just a point of clarification on something you just said. The budget amendment that we just had with the second interim is in the ending fund balance, and that is under the board discretion and authorization. So just clarifying that.
Any other comments or questions?
Can you repeat the motion?
Jackie, can you repeat the motion?
Oh my gosh. Well, I checked it out. My motion would be that I would be allowed to explore a contract of limited use specific to designations and authorizations for a second opinion, unless there is another thing you guys want me to ask them about. Michael, I think that might be a separate budgetary concern. I can also ask about maybe line item veto powers when it comes to that. But again, returning with that scope of what we would be hiring at the next meeting, or, maybe not the next one. That's my motion.
And that would include costs and...
Costs and the scope. Scope meaning like what we're asking and getting advice on. But again, you guys need to speak up if there's something else that you want me to get advice on or a cost on.
Jessica?
So I'm a little confused now, because I was thinking this was a more broader motion where we would have a separate attorney available for second opinions in general, but this is just for a one-time use, this specific situation.
I realize that she's exploring the options of having somebody available for us, but Jackie.
So getting a second opinion is always kind of seen as a one-time thing. It has to be limited in scope. It can't just be we have them on retainer. I'm looking at you, Tom. It would be something that we would explore each time. Now, we could use the same firm every time, but we don't have an ongoing contract. I don't know, where is the division in that?
Hi, everyone. I'm hesitant to say too much for obvious reasons. I don't want to sway your opinion one way or the other. Let me say a couple general things. We serve at the discretion and the pleasure of the board, and it is common for attorneys and law firms to have to step aside when appropriate or when people are comfortable, so we're happy to do that. And typically you don't have to, but often you hire law firms on a general legal services basis, and you just use them when needed. And so that is common. But you can hire attorneys for a limited scope. Most of the time we see it being more useful and convenient to hire law firms on an as-needed basis, and you don't have to use them unless you want them. Does that help at all?
So then the motion would be to do both. I mean, you can, I think that we need to have someone available so that we're not every time, and if we are allowed to hold a contract with someone we all agree we want second opinions on, and we're allowed to hold that, that would be more expedient to already have them ready, already have a relationship developed, and reach out for a second opinion on a specific limited scope issue. I think that would be wise, instead of having them to find the right one, see if they're good, get everybody to agree on the same one, and then try and tackle whatever issue you need a second opinion on. We've already have them ready to go.
Jessica?
So my concern would be that if we were going to hire an attorney for the board in general, we would look at many different attorneys. We would probably have interviews with those people. It wouldn't just be one board member investigating and picking someone and bringing it back and telling us this is who I picked. So I just want to be sure that it would be a collaborative process where there are, groundwork may be done, but we have interviews held, we learn information about them. If it's something that, if somebody that we're going to hold on, at least have a relationship with, I won't say retainer, I don't know how that exactly works, but I just would want it to be collaborative and broad.
Yeah, so now the more the conversation goes on, the more confusing it becomes because like if you're doing it for one lead, like Jackie was talking about, one specific thing that you're going to check out and you're going to get a second opinion, that makes sense. But if you're doing it where you have, the board has their own attorney, we can't do that according to the education code, and it has to be for a specific reason or a conflict or something. So we can't have a situation where we have one attorney for the board and one attorney for the county office. So you're saying we're going to have an attorney firm on contract just for second opinions. Does that meet the Ed Code requirement or not?
Yes, Ed Code 1042 says second opinions are a reason to have a second opinion.
But it talks about a very specific, like you have to have a specific situation, not just
That just says second opinion.
on anything. So in that case, you have two attorneys. You're using public funds to have two attorneys. That's pretty expensive.
Any other comment or question, Arthur?
Before the motion, I think several times throughout my 3 years, we've actually used other attorneys, whether it's for redistricting maps, whether it's for the districts that we just merged, whether it's for property that we had. I mean, there are several different categories that we've used second opinions for. They did great. The law firm that came up and did with us, and I think they were pretty good. And I think that would be a viable option, I think that there's going to be several other issues that come up as well throughout the year. It would be a great benefit to the board to have a second opinion. I mean, whether we agree with one political party or the other, we're subjected to both, and depending on what way the wind blows, we have to have a constant here, at least in our board chambers, of reliable legal, like Tom. But then when something comes up where we might not agree and we need the second opinion, we should be able to just be able to reach out. And if we have a relationship with these guys, I think it would be to our benefit and the taxpayers' benefit when we're actually legislating and producing policy that our workers and everybody has to follow. That way we're not creating policies that will inhibit our workers from doing the work.
I was just going to clarify on the committee work, that wasn't a situation where the committee had its own attorney and the staff had its own attorney. Eric Stevens worked for both of us. And that was a specific thing where the school districts that were petitioning had Lozano Smith, so to make it a cleaner situation, we shouldn't have the same attorney as the petitioners. So in that case, so my concern is like I can vote for something if we're going to investigate it and we're going to learn about the cost and it's going to come back and discuss. That makes sense, and then we would know exactly how that would work and whether they were acting as an attorney all the time or just this retainer idea of being so. Getting information is good, and if that's what we're voting on, that makes sense to me. But if it's expanding into something beyond that, I have concerns.
Yeah, the motion is to explore, right? All right. Jessica?
I just wanted to clarify that that any time I've thought it would be nice to have a second opinion, it never had anything to do with political differences. It was just general issues that I thought maybe a second opinion would be beneficial.
Robert?
Well, I'm curious about the need for a second opinion on specific items. Now, if a conflict of interest arises, where there is a conflict between Lozano Smith representing the board and another board or the county office, then I could totally see the necessity of hiring or even retaining a alternative counsel prior to a conflict of interest or some other kind of adversarial condition. I don't see the necessity or the added expense of another lawyer. That's my position. So,
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Because we do have a motion, it has been seconded. If there's no other comments, we can collect a vote. All right, we'll do a call vote. I'll start. I vote aye.
Aye.
Robert? Jessica?
Aye.
Laura? Aye. Teresa? Aye. Arthur? Aye. Abby?
Aye.
Jacob? Aye. Carrying 6-1. Mike, you're up in the queue.
yeah, just a point of clarification to see who is doing the exploring. Okay. Just wanted to, if there was homework there for us, then, and so the note in the agenda item is that proposals will be sought and brought to future meetings to have those discussions.
And if anyone has a second opinion, you're already doing
want something, let me know before I start doing the research so I can price that out.
Okay, thank you. We're on item number 8, student board member report. Abby, you're up for your 5-minute report.
Hi, good afternoon, guys. I hope y'all are doing well. So I just like to start highlighting some positive things. So it's been a pretty very meeting. So a lot of different activities are thriving in my school. So we just had our gala performance. So that was what I'm gonna get out of that. But it was really good. I saw Jacob there. He went to one of my shows. It was a great experience. Also, a lot of clubs are launching spring projects, and we have a upcoming field trip to Whiskeytown Falls for my science club. I'm very excited for that. Okay, so the main part of my report is that we hosted a Student Voices panel. I don't know if you guys know, but we had a Student Voices panel last Thursday where we brought together middle school and high school students to share their perspectives directly with school and district leaders. I know some Laura was there, Mike was there, some people were there. And then students discussed several topics, including with AI and learning, social policy, post-graduation preparedness, safety and belonging on campus, and student-staff relationships. So a lot of students spoke about the challenges of balancing schoolwork with extracurricular activities and other responsibilities. Many expressed that they are deeply committed to sports, clubs, jobs, family obligations, also trying to maintain strong academic performance. They showed that teachers who show understanding and flexibility when conflicts arise may make a meaningful difference in helping them manage these responsibilities successfully. One point that really stood out to me was a concern students raised about safety procedures when subs was present. I think that was a pretty lengthy discussion, took about 10 minutes. Substitutes, yeah. So several students shared that subs are sometimes unfamiliar with emergency protocols such as fire or intruder alarms, which can create confusion during drills or during emergencies. Students felt that ensuring subs are clearly prepared for these situations would help everyone feel safer. Overall, the conversation was thoughtful and honest. Students shared both what they feel are working well and where they see opportunities for improvement. I think creating spaces for these conversations is very important, and it was very encouraging to see students engage so openly with school administrators. And I was really hoping that I would see more faces who were present on the board there as well. But I think it was but I think it's a great opportunity to, especially as board members who are serving students in our county, to hear directly from the students. I don't know if we're probably going to keep doing it for years, years on, so I would want to see where you guys maybe the board to go to one of those student voices panels. Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Abby. Any questions for Abby? All right, thank you. Jacob?
Alrighty, good evening, guys. Sorry about the voice and the congestion. It's spring, it's allergy season, so since our last board meeting, it's been a busy month, but it's a pleasure always doing what I get to do. So I'm going to start off with West Valley. We are currently preparing our seniors for graduation and what lies ahead after June, and at the same time, we're also welcoming our incoming freshmen by inviting them to events to make them feel what life is like as an Eagle. So tonight, we are hosting our parent information night and also our curriculum showcase, where incoming 8th graders and their families learn about our programs and learn about what they'll be learning and even meet their teachers. For West Valley winter athletics, they are officially wrapped up and spring season is underway. Our varsity girls basketball team was named the Northern Section Division IV champions, and they made the state playoff run, but they ended their season in Gall after 2 games. And as well as our varsity girls soccer team, they also won the Northern Section Division IV championship, and they also had an undefeated season up until their second round of state playoffs. Since our last board meeting, West Valley has had a great February break, and just in about 4 weeks, we're looking forward to our spring break. But over here, I wanted to share an update on the Youth Commission. Our commission will be presenting our substance prevention PSAs, public service announcement projects, to the PBS team on March 23rd. And I want to give you guys a little bit insight on my group's PSA, which focuses on a realistic scenario of friends going out for a night in a vehicle. The main character is offered a substance, and I want that message to center on the idea that substances is a personal choice, and we want to encourage young people to make the right and wise choice. And then from there, PBS will work with us to produce these PSAs and advertise them out into the community. Also, since September, I've been participating in the California School Board Association Student Board Member Training to understand my role a little bit better. The training has been incredibly valuable, and it has allowed me to connect with tons of student board members across California. They are great to hear things from, and my most recent training focuses on district budgets. I'm a little bit rusty on that, but we're getting there, and on Monday I have a meeting more about training. And then Abby spoke to it, but last Thursday we had our Student Voices panel where Abby and I held a discussion with 9 student panelists, including 1 middle school student from Boulder Creek, an 8th grader. And the panel discussed hot topics like AI in education, cell phone policy, post-secondary preparedness, school safety, and then student and staff relationships. And one of my biggest takeaways from the conversation is that different schools across the county are so different. I come from the South County, West Valley, hearing from 5 Enterprise students what it's like. We're unique. We're very different. And another takeaway was that students showed that they do not regularly have emergency drills such as intruders, earthquakes, fires, and that was important to hear for myself. And then currently, after attending the Staffing Shortage Initiative meeting, I am working with Claudia and a representative from Reach Higher Shasta to explore the possibility of bringing a county-wide Educators Rising chapter. And the goal is to address the ongoing staffing shortage at young students to encourage them to consider careers in education. And then on a personal note, it's the end of the school year, so I'm preparing for my graduation from Shasta College in May. I'm also finishing up my application and letters of recommendation for another year as a student board member. And tomorrow I will be going to the Navigating the Digital World that Ayla is putting on as the safety director, so I hope to see you guys all there. And that's it for my board meeting.
Thank you. Laura, you're up.
Yeah, I wanted to say Abby and Jacob did such a great job at the student voice panel. They were, to have that many students there, there's a really art to that of interviewing people and not letting one person take too much time or something. And then they just covered so many topics, and I just thought each topic was so interesting. I kind of wish like each one could go on more and get deeper and stuff. One of the things that was interesting to me was like the discussion when they were talking about AI and cell phones and stuff. I thought there was a really the same kind of thing being repeated from several different students about don't just give us rules or don't just take something away. Give us a reason, give us an explanation. I think that's really important for adults to hear. And I think there was like an opening where the students with AI, one of the students was talking about it's, we realize that there's a danger here. We don't want to just outsource our thinking, so help us learn how to use this as a tool and how we can use it better. And I was disappointed to hear that there are teachers out there that are using the AI detection programs because it's just like overwhelming. The consensus is that those don't work and they're only going to get worse. And so in some ways I felt like the kids were ahead of the adults on the topic, and I really, I welcome the idea of the kids just being, they're open, they want to learn, they want to know how to use things, but they want to do it safely. And so I was really impressed with the group of kids that you gathered there too. So well done.
Thank you. Superintendent's report.
I have Austin continue. I echo that. Abby and Jacob owned every aspect of the student voice panel. So it's recruiting, questions, all of those things, and I'm too proud of facilitating that discussion where every voice can be heard. And this was historic because we're at a middle school, and so one of the questions was specific, like how is your school preparing you for that transition, for that next step? And Jacob made sure that middle school voice was heard. So hats off. It was a great event. I always walk away, and I want to 5K shooting recorded all of it. So we've cleaned up the audio. Like, you guys are fine. There was some microphone glitches and things, so the quality of the audio recording is going to be podcast worthy. So that will be an episode of the podcast. And then we actually, in this space, April 14th, will be hosting a Reach Higher Shasta secondary meeting with counselors and administrators from middle school and high school. And the voice actually being audio clips from the voice panel will be used to spur further discussion with middle school and high school administrators. Okay, listen to this particular comment. It might be about safety, it might be about belonging. I loved what the students said of belonging is about clubs. Make it easy for people to just start things so that people feel like they have some connections. Great conversations, and those are living on. In fact, I was in a meeting today, and we were talking about some of the things that were shared out. So thank you for that. Here's just all kinds of good things. It is a little bit March Madness right now. Like, it is a little bit like the Tetris screen filling up with just all kinds of good things. And Jacob and Abby, again, everywhere I go, I see one of you or both of you. So thank you for your involvement. We'll get into some of the things, but just super proud. So that was March 5th, and that was the Student Voice Panel. March 10th, in this space, we have spelling bee champions. And so one of the things that I've had conversations with President Orlicky about is, like, how can we recognize community partners and recognize students? This was our spelling bee. So I would love to bring our spelling bee champions maybe to April's meeting where we can recognize our middle school and our high school. So cool things happening there. On the highlight front, Principal 4-Day kicked off yesterday. Actually, today was the Principal 4-Day where guest principals jumped on sites. We had 21 community members, and Abby was actually part of the talent that kicked off with a musical number, and so it was a great day, highlight of my calendar. Also yesterday, Arthur talked a little bit about the HHSA contract, so $385,000, and that does allow us to extend Community Connect services to all of our Shasta County schools, right? So Anderson, we've had conversations about Anderson High School not being included with Community Connect service referral support because community schools funding was used for that, and now with the HHSA contract being approved, we're able to extend that. I want to shout out to our middle school students. We had a game of life with Excel Academy, and you were actually able to attend that, right? Way cool. The kids learn a little bit about what it's like to be an adult, right? Some of the pressures and some of the economic things, and like furniture and what kind of car, what kind of cell plan. So it was a great event, and a whole lot of folks went into making that event happen because each booth is staffed by a volunteer. So great there. And then today, Tucker with the Shield Center hosted. Abby and Jacob are mentioning some of the safety concerns that came out of our student voice panel, and we have our 30 participants working with our Central California Intelligence Agency on emergency preparedness response to targeted violence training. So powerful things happening there in the world of safety. Also in this room, in that pillar for community partnerships, I just want to thank Catherine Thompson on the record. Like, she has put in a lot of work supporting math curriculum adoption. Workshops have been happening here involving teachers, getting their perspectives on, obviously curriculum adoption is a district decision, but Catherine's been able to facilitate experiences so teachers can be involved in the process of what curriculum is adopted. And I know I'm over time, but like this, I just wanted to highlight this. This is the event that Jacob was mentioning, Navigating the Digital World, happening in Mercy Oaks in partnership with Common Sense Media. That's tomorrow night. And then the Safety Fair, April 29th, in Sequoia is going to be a community school safety event. Everything from stop, drop, roll to Alice to some of the things that we have as safety initiatives. And that is hosted at the Reading School District, but it is in no way just the Reading School District. There are other districts that are partnering in a lot of some of our public safety partners in the community. So that's my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mike Freeman? All right. Then we are on to item number 10, discussion. 10.1.1 is board subcommittee update. So staffing shortage initiative, and Mike, you're here to address the item.
Just a real quick follow-up from our planning session. Those actions, so surveys are out. The survey for staffing going out to all of our directors of charters and our superintendents. We've also have the request out for EdJoin. If you remember, we shared our countywide data for 24-25, and I went ahead and made sure I asked for all the way to pre-COVID 2018-19, and I did ask them to remove athletic coaches, so that we're looking at classified and certificated positions, and we'll have that data for when that comes.
Thank you. We're on 10.1.1.2, seal design, and author, you're up for that.
Yeah, well, the SEAL team, the best team of all, is working on our SEAL that we had. I know you guys missed our last meeting. I'll repeat myself. The SEAL team is the best team. Anyways, so at our last meeting that we had last week, we did a collaborative, and we took all the questions that Jessica, I, and Jackie put together. We put down the top priorities of the ones that we wanted. We directed staff to then put those together so we can have a Google Doc. Still waiting for the Google Doc if we were going to send it out, or hopefully it would be made by now, and then we could kind of discuss it here, but if it's not made, we can discuss it at a later time. And from that Google Doc with the questions, we are going to do the same type of thing. We're going to send out a survey on our socials, on our email blast to the community to ask them the question, what would they like to see in a seal that represents Shasta County? So we get the whole community to buy in, more of that fun marketing thing where we get to engage with our community. They can tell us what they want, and we can make it a great seal that represents everybody in Shasta County. So we're just waiting for the Google Doc to be made and the survey to go out, and then we'll get the responses. Once we get that response, we'll meet together hopefully at next board meeting with those responses, and we can go through that and maybe make some more discussions with all 7 of us in the room.
Mike?
Yeah, just to follow up, the board doc will be shared out with SEAL team tomorrow. It was a great idea, right? The exit ticket where people have their questions and you can kind of vote on your questions, but like a whole lot of people vote for a whole lot of questions, and so we have had some processing. I'll share that document with you and some of that methodology with SEAL team, and then we'll proceed with the timeline that I'll spell that out.
Okay, we are on to 10.2, review board bylaw 9005, governance standards. I am the one that asked to have this put on the agenda. I mean, some community members have spoken about their concerns for the social media likes or activity. I know that Trustee French has already spoken. I put it on here because I believe we have a commitment to the community. I believe we have to act in the best interest of all students, as it says under board bylaw 9005. We also are supposed to be holding ourselves to the highest standards of ethical conduct. I think that applies when we are liking public posts, especially when it's directed towards a student-led event. That is my concern, is that it was a student-led event put on by high school students and college students in our county. If you look at Part B, where it says act with dignity and understand the implications of demeanor and behavior, there are implications to our behavior whether we like it or not, and I think that we need to discuss that as a board tonight. Also, it says that we need to govern in a dignified and professional manner, treating everyone with civility and respect. When you suggest adding people to not a hit this. That is not treating everybody with civility and respect, and I don't believe that that is appropriate behavior for board members. So that is why I ask for this to be put on the agenda. Jessica.
Okay. I want to reiterate that I do not condone violence of any kind. I do not like violence. My entire career in public service for 20 years has been rooted in peaceful civic engagement. There's not one single shred of evidence in all of my social media from out of my mouth or that I ever physically inflicted violence in any form against anyone in any capacity ever in my entire life. I also want to emphasize that trustees on this board come from a wide range of political perspectives, as we know, and obviously a few of us are deeply passionate about various causes and spend a lot of our personal lives engaged in the democratic process in our personal lives. I'm not going to stop anytime soon. I don't think any of you will stop anytime soon. I will never stop using my voice and saying what I believe to be true and right. I will not resign from this board or any position that I was elected to because I live in integrity. I do what I believe is right always. People in our community will inevitably agree or not, and they will elect me or they won't. I was elected as the human being that I am today, that I always have been, and I plan on continuing to serve in the same capacity. I just want to say that if we start down that path, it becomes very easy for any members of this board to be accused of misconduct simply because someone disagrees with their politics. Honestly, this should be an issue that we all agree on, especially those of us that claim to defend the First Amendment above all else. I believe our responsibility here is to focus on governance, policy, and the needs of students rather than using this body as a forum to litigate one another's political beliefs over and over again, or to further our own political agendas. Never once have I brought anything politically related to this board to be put on our agenda. Never once have I bashed any person on this board via this platform or used taxpayers' money to do so. And I would appreciate if everyone else stopped doing that as well. I just think it's a dangerous, slippery slope to go down. We could spend all of our time here tearing apart each other's social medias and what they like on Facebook. I think it's completely insane. For that reason, I will not be engaging further in this conversation. That's all I have to say.
Jackie, sorry.
Yeah, I just find it unfortunate that we're here again after the PP video scandal, which this, in my opinion, is completely different. The PP video scandal, to me, was more about our relationship with the Board of Supervisors and other people in the relationship that we have a working relationship with in the county. This, however, and I am a protector and a defender of First Amendment rights, and as someone in the peanut galleries mentioned that I had gone to the Anderson City Council and spoke against a censure mechanism that was in their social media policy, and I did, and I will. I will always speak against any censure mechanism when it infringes on someone's right. But what I was sent by members of the community is a post that Jessica French liked, a guy holding a sign at our local event, Faith and Family Night, that said, "Watch your neck." I think that crosses a line into calling for violence, specifically local violence against children. I could not sleep at night had I not at least said that. I think it is disgusting. And I'd like to make a motion to send what I have as evidence to either the DA or the proper authorities.
Robert, I have a question for Tom. Has anything changed? Have we changed California laws? The Assembly and the Senate changed California law to give this board jurisdiction over the private lives of the board trustees and their social media?
This conversation doesn't raise any legal issues that the Board of Education's legal counsel can really comment on. This is a policy discussion about how you want each other to interact with yourselves and your community. I really don't have any useful comments on legal issues other than I believe this is a policy discussion.
That was my question. So there's no legal change that has happened in the last 6 months. That gives us the authority as the Board of Education to have jurisdiction over or anything to say about the private Facebook social media comments of one of the trustees on this board. Now, there are standards of behavior that we're expected to adhere to. Okay, I understand that. Okay. But simply liking something on Facebook is not an action. That's social media. It's a distraction. This whole conversation is a distraction. We have an obligation as members of the government to protect the First Amendment rights of everybody, and that includes fellow trustees, whether we agree with them or disagree with them. And so, in my opinion, this is simply not something that is worthy of this board's time. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, but liking something that is a clear call to violence is not protected by the First Amendment. I refer you to the Brandenburg Supreme Court decision if you would like to discuss that further. Laura, you have comments to ask?
We live in a very divided community, and it's fueled by outrage, and it's unfortunate because schools have kind of this special place where the schools have always been the place where families of different political beliefs or different life experiences or different income levels, they come together, they go to the football game, they go to the spring program on the blacktop. It's this place where it's a common ground place. So I think it's unfortunate that a board member would just speak to one part of the community and give an impression that others in the community that don't align with your beliefs are less than or bad people, or you're only there for one part of the community. I think that's really unfortunate. I have a lot of wishes about social media posts. I wish that they weren't political. I wish that people didn't have an interpretation of the ed code that's misleading and posts it. I wish that people weren't insulting, that they weren't vulgar. I mean, all these things that I would really like not to see on social media. I think Facebook is a sewer. I try not to go on there. But I also realize that I have no authority, I have no magic power to change a board member, to make them somebody different. And I have no authority to tell people what they believe politically or what they post. And I don't want to be policing fellow board members. So that's where it is. I mean, I have things that I would like, but I recognize that as a board member, I don't have the authority to keep somebody from posting something that I don't like. So that's how it goes.
Thank you. Arthur?
Yeah, I just remember this board tried to censure me so many times ago, and it was Jessica that brought it up, and she wasn't a board member. And we all agreed that we all had the freedom of speech, whether we liked her speech or not. I do think that the fact that you liked that post on Facebook, and it's watch your neck and hung out with those people, and it was a call to violence, and it was a group of multiple organizations protesting against people of faith and children, that there's something very wrong with that, because it's no longer protected speech when you interfere with the ability of someone to practice their faith. It is also not protected speech when there are calls for violence, and we did make several, or at least one stand after Charlie Kirk had passed away from someone that, killed him in in broad daylight in front of students that we condemn violence of every kind. Being that said, on this board, we don't have any authority or jurisdiction to police people, but there are people in authority above us when we follow the chain of command to refer people to. The proper authority would be the grand jury, because those are the people that look into investigations of elected officials that may have done things that go against the law. And then when the grand jury looks at those things, they are the ones that interpret the law and then pass that to the DA if it's appropriate, or they might even look at it and say it's not even an issue. But that is the appropriate body to go to when you're trying to hold elected officials accountable, especially for calling for acts of violence against people of faith and children. So if the board were to make a motion to escalate that, if you have evidence, if you have everything documented, and you have like a case that suggests that someone is calling for acts of violence, the appropriate authority would be the grand jury. It wouldn't be us. And I don't agree with censoring anybody's speech, even if I don't like it. So I don't think as the board we should censor anybody. I don't think Anderson, like the person said out there, should censor anybody's speech or make policies where they're going to progressively discipline staff online presence. Like, that is a horrible thing. We should never make a policy here where we progressively discipline staff for things that are absolutely stupid and that we have no control over. So I think if we were to do something, someone could make a motion to escalate it to the grand jury, just like we did when Leonard Modi several years ago, and the Board of Supervisors used the sheriff to go into his house during a fire and get bottles of wine out, and the grand jury found him guilty of that. So that would be the appropriate thing to do. It has been done before in Shasta County. It's going to be done again in Shasta County, so I think we should refer the matter to legal authority that is above us and follow the chain of command.
Jackie, you wanted to speak?
Yeah, I'd like to amend my motion. I make a motion to send a letter for investigation to the grand jury regarding this post that Jessica French liked. Watch your neck.
Tom, did you want to comment?
This is an action item. However, board members, it does appear to be an action item to discuss whether the board bylaw was transgressed and whether it should be amended. If you want to have a collective commitment to do some sort of referral or letter, I respectfully suggest that be a future agenda item. But I can certainly appreciate you wanting to urge others to do it in their own individual capacity.
Jessica?
I just want to say again, I do not condone violence. I do not like violence. I hope to see this post that you guys are talking about, because it does not exist. I never liked a photo of the man that when I went to this event, I was on Facebook Live from the moment I got out of my car until I left, first of all. So you guys are going to be awfully embarrassed when you go watch that Facebook Live and listen to my conversations with the people that were outside that I spent the whole time with. So when you say I was standing there with this group of mob of people, not accurate. I was standing with your people, and we were having really great conversations. So I actually left that event feeling really great about the youth and the event that was put on, and I was completely shocked by the fact that this was on the agenda in the first place. So bizarre to me. I highly suggest you go watch the Facebook Live when I was there. And yes, please send the Facebook like to the grand jury. That would be the best way to go.
Are there any other comments or discussion? Okay. Then we are on to the Association of California County Boards of Education report. Jackie.
Thank you, President Orlowski. So ACCBE is asking if we would co-sponsor with them. They are co-sponsoring Senate Bill 1082, having to do with streamlining inter-district transfers. I will admit I have not looked at SB 1082, so we'll all be doing it together. But again, that's specific to inter-district transfers. ACCBE is co-sponsoring that bill, and we're wondering if we would join them with it. So I think it would behoove us to look at that and see if that's something we want to support, like we have in the past, like with Prop 84.
And then also, I don't know, has anybody else besides myself signed up for the Ukiah ACCB conference? Okay. They've asked us, they're really impressed with our literacy program here in Shasta County, so they've asked if we would do a 10 to 15-minute presentation at that conference in Ukiah. Mike, I believe we have someone, not you, but we do have someone that would be good at bragging on the literacy program with that.
We'll definitely have some folks that would love to tell the literacy story, and I can reach out to our literacy staff members and see who's available to join us.
Thank you. That's all I have for my report.
Thank you. We're now on to board reports and correspondence for 5 minutes per board member. We can start with Arthur. Do you have anything to report?
Yeah, I talked to some board member this week from Happy Valley School District. That's why I brought this information up. I'm glad that we could all work together as a team and get that done. Thank you, Mike, for pointing to where we could take the dollars out instead of using the priority for the future agenda that we're trying to do for expelled youth. So very thankful for the teamwork and collaboration with that. Also, Reading Christian just won the state championship for basketball, so now we won the state championship for football, and we won the state championship for basketball. So the kids are doing some amazing work out there. I'm looking forward to the 7-Eleven committee, all the other things that we're working on. A lot of people have sent me some AI pictures of a seal that they like, which is kind of fun. So if you guys have any AI pictures you want to send their way, start sharing them with the board or Mike, so if you get them out there, that'd be interesting to see what everybody in Shasta County thinks about seals. Most of them look like coins and whatnot. And then other than that, looking forward to next month's meeting new school board members, whoever wants to apply. That's going to be good. I thank you, Abby and Jacob, for doing all that you're doing on the board, and you guys are doing a great job, because most of the kids I ask, I say, you want to be a student board member? They say, no, absolutely not, and I do not want to talk in front of people, so you guys are amazing kids, and I look forward to what you do in March.
Teresa, do you have a board member? Laura?
Yeah, I attended another one of these news and media literacy webinars. It's the second one. It's a series of 6. And the Fresno, Glen, San Diego, and Santa Clara offices of education are part of it, and the California School Library. And I think it has a lot of great resources for both teachers and students for figuring out, it's basically how not to get duped by all the AI slop that's out there, and then if you're a student trying to research a paper, how do you know how to go about it? And kind of in keeping with the theme of that student voice panel, it's a really good, these webinars are really good because they provide a lot of information. They're not just saying, tell your students not to do it. It's like, how does an algorithm work? And it's like explaining how all these things come together. So I really enjoyed that one again. Then I also had the opportunity to attend the Schrader Planetarium Appreciation Night for supporters and volunteers. And I don't know, it just did my heart good, because 12 years ago the planetarium was really in peril. It was close to being closed, and these forces came together that saved it. And one of them was the Friends of Schrader Planetarium, that has this small group of volunteers who work really hard, and they've raised all this money for new shows, and they staff the community shows, and they've redone the whole gift shop, and there's just some great people there. And I think I'm just so grateful that Nate Fairchild happened to be the one in charge of the planetarium right when this crisis was happening, and he stepped forward, and he made the field trips meaningful. He aligned them with the state standards for the students that come, and then he developed these lessons that the students do before they visit the planetarium and they do afterwards. And then he got all these different hands-on exhibits there too, so it's a really meaningful thing when people come, and I just felt great to be there and to see the success of it.
Thank you. Jessica, for a board report?
Okay, let's see. So I've been recruiting student board members this month, talking to many students throughout the county. I attempted to work with the superintendent to set up in-person visits with students in more rural communities in the outlying Fall River, Bernie, those areas where I go for work, because I thought I could, make my way there and have conversations with kiddos that maybe don't typically apply for positions here, but that didn't pan out. It's looking like it's not going to be able to work in time, you guys, because that was the end of my schedule traveling there, and I don't have time now to go farther. And let's see, what else? Yeah, everything else I was going to say, I was going to talk about attending the student event, but you guys already know all about that. That would be about it, I think, for this time.
Thank you, Robert. Well, first I'd like to apologize to the board for missing the last two sessions. I mean, as you know, I've been sick, so it's ongoing. So, and I won't be able to make the April 13th special board meeting because I have an eye scheduled for that day. So I'll probably be sick from the contrast. So, I just want you to know that I missed attending. The liveliness and the fun of the conversations is always something I look forward to. But because of that, I was not able to attend the ROP school, so I don't have a report back from them. Other than that, I don't have anything. Thanks.
Thank you. Jackie? I'll give my report then. Since the last meeting, I had the chance to tour Excel in the Independent Study Program with Claudia. I got to attend the Game of Life event, which was pretty cool to watch students go through and learn about how everyday costs can add up. And, they have a chance to start out, I think, just with a high school diploma, and then they have an opportunity to go back and get like a college degree and learn about getting an upgraded job. It's very similar to the actual Game of Life, if you've ever played that. It was pretty cool to see that. I got to attend Leadership Reading, and I got to talk about the future of education and AI. Dr. Dan Sloan put that on. I got to attend towards the end of the day. I also got to go on to KRCR and KQMS and talk about the 7-Eleven committee, so I'm really excited that we had so many people apply to that. We got to set the agenda-setting meeting. I think that's going really well with the team that we have. We had lots of good conversations about setting up the agenda. And then I also got to speak to a few community members about some concerns they have with safety. I know you guys are talking about that a lot of times subs don't know procedures, but it's also important, I think, that subs don't have any idea about classroom management for the most part, and I don't know if there's something that we can do for that, because that is a safety concern when someone comes into a classroom to supervise and watch students and they don't even know how to manage students. And I also was at a school where there was a lockdown drill this past week, and the sub had no idea how to deal with that. So that's a concern. Students started running outside of the classroom when there was a lockdown and police nearby. That could have been a really bad situation. So I don't know if there's anything we can do about that, but I'm hearing from community members, administrators, and things that is a concern that they have. And that is all I have for my board report. Mr. Freeman?
If I could just ask a couple of questions, Laura, regarding the webinar. Are those resources available as a recording, or are there some things that I might be able to pass along on that subject?
I can at least get you to our website.
Okay. Also, Jessica mentioned the struggle with reaching out to our outlying areas and promoting our board membership, our board trustee opportunity that we have next year. And in the conversation, I just wanted to share this with the board. Our 6 o'clock start time is a barrier as it relates to superintendents promoting when you are in Fall River or Bernie. So he had concerns if we're in December and we're here until 9 or 10 o'clock at night, that student then getting an the car and driving back, he just had concerns about overtly promoting that opportunity. He was sharing the application, so we may have applicants from that area, but I wanted to pass that along because it was an interesting conversation that we had. And then on the sub support, I am meeting with Claudia tomorrow, and I added that to our check-in. We're the keeper of the sub list, and maybe there is something that we could do at the outset of the year to give substitutes some type of support, some type of general safety awareness. It is going to vary from site to site, obviously, but if there are some things, maybe we can have that conversation.
Item number 11, upcoming events. There are 3 different events on there. I'm not going to read them all to you because you guys can see them. And then we're on item number 12, which is suggested items for future agenda. Is there anyone that would like to suggest something? Robert?
Yes, I would like to see Jackie's suggestion for partnering with the ACCD on, what was that?
Literacy?
Yes, on the literacy. Move forward. I mean, I think it's very important that we share what we've learned with the other school districts and the other county offices.
All right.
I think it should go on the agenda as an action item.
Okay. Oh, Mike, sorry, I didn't see you on there again.
I owe Jessica an apology last month. This was a new addition to the agenda, and I think Jessica had some good questions at the close of last month when this agenda item, I think he looked and was like, wait, is this an action item? So yes, this is designed as an action item so that if there are suggestions, we can get motions and approval for those to be added to the agenda.
Jessica?
I just wanted to check in and put them on here again, but last month I had submitted a couple agenda requests and I was told they were denied, and one of them in error because they misunderstood what I was requesting. It was in regards to the parent and the community that wanted to sponsor a prize for a Scully-sponsored art contest, and I was told it was going to be on this month's agenda, but it's not there. And then also, I was contacted by, what's the organization, Mike? Acton, who wanted to come in and give a presentation, and we had to discuss that as a board first at the last month's meeting, and it wasn't on the agenda this time either, so I'm just wondering why not, and what are the barriers surrounding that?
Mike, should we address those two things? Yeah, fantastic. So I will run the art contest. We'll make sure that's on our next agenda setting meeting. The acting friendly agenda setting meeting, it was decided that we would be meeting, President Orlicky and myself would be meeting with the representatives that came and shared public comment from Acton, and I believe Carmen has scheduled that for later this month. So we will meet with those presenters, and then we will be able to have the information to determine. First question always when we're looking at agenda setting is just jurisdiction and can the board take action. And I think that coming from a private school, that was some of the conversation that we wanted to learn more. So we are scheduled to meet with that representative from Acton. I believe it's scheduled for next week. So the idea is we will meet with them, and then if, based on our conversation with them, that will also be on the agenda setting meeting for April. Arthur?
Yeah, I'd like to add maybe something on the agenda. I mean, we have a lot of policies that we need to review, so maybe getting a policy committee started in the future. I know one policy that I had overlooked and I brought up at the meeting last week was that on our applicant for student board members, it says public students only, and then it says within our jurisdiction. So I would like to amend that to take out just public students and just say anybody in Shasta County that is a student in high school can apply. Just makes it fair and equitable for everybody to apply, whether you're in an independent homeschool that may be operating out of a different district, because you can be online anywhere, but your school district is not here. So you can be an overseas student, you can be a different state student, but you're also a high school student, and allowing private students to apply as well. And that would just be easy. We can get a policy committee started, review different policies that are coming out through CSBA, different things like we did with the Title IX when they come up, when the Supreme Court makes decisions and when we're having to make policy adjustments. I think if we have like a regular standing committee, that we can adjust that as they come out, and having it on the agenda would just be nice, and we can just all talk about it together and make the edits when needed.
So you have two separate action items. You want one to form a policy standing committee and then one to talk about the student board member. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? Jackie?
I would like to motion to move to add an agenda item to the next board meeting if there's room, or the special meeting on the 13th, to refer Trustee French's social media Watch Your Neck sign to the grand jury as a board. That's my motion.
Okay. Did you have something to say?
Oh, I wasn't done. I figured, no, you're fine. I just said I was done, and now I'm not. I figured since, Jessica, you said you actually told us to send it to the grand jury, you would second my motion.
Is this a conversation?
No, but I'm just surprised that I didn't get a second from you since you instructed us to send it. Please send it to the grand jury. Yeah, so I need a second. No, because you specified that I have a whatever in your neck sign. I did not create any sign. I don't have a sign. You're imagining things. Whatever you guys are seeing, it does not exist. I never created a sign that said that. Someone else did, and your motion or whatever it is you just put on the agenda is incorrect. So of course I'm not going to second it.
Mike, you're up next.
Okay, so President Royalty is keeping track of the suggested agenda items. These will be action items, so I just don't want it to be compiled into one motion with the list of things that have been discussed. So I believe that these will be individual action items. If there is board approval, if the majority of the board approves these items will be added to the agenda. Everything from ACCBE, the art contest, the policy committee, the standing policy committee,
The student board member adjustment.
the student board member policy, and the grand jury motion. So these would need to be individually moved, acted, and added to the agenda. That's my understanding. Is that your understanding?
Point of order, I thought that this part of the agenda was just for raising them. We're actually voting and making motions on this.
The last one, the confusion was, is this an action item or not? And so in the agenda setting, we determined that these would be actions so that we would be able to take it from this suggestion and add it to the agenda based on motions taken with the standing agenda item being action item, saying what are suggestions for future board meeting topics or agenda items.
So we should be discussing everyone right now and voting on it?
My understanding is these would need to be individually motioned, discussed, approved, and that would indicate what is added to the April agenda.
Clarification?
Yes, what's your point of order?
I did make a motion separately.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, and that's still open.
Okay. So is there a second for Jackie's motion?
Do I need to clarify it?
A second.
Okay, so the motion is that you want to refer the screenshots of Trustee French's liking as an agenda item. So this is not that we're referring, this is adding it to the agenda for next month.
Yeah, we're adding to the agenda for the board to take action to write a letter to the grand jury regarding social media posts liking Watching It.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on adding that to next month's agenda? All right, then we do have to vote, so I think we should do a roll call vote. Jacob? Abstain. Abby?
I abstain as well.
Arthur? Aye. Teresa?
Aye.
Laura? No. Jessica?
Abstain.
Robert? No. Jackie?
Yes.
And I vote aye as well. So that would be 4-2. Two no's and 3 abstentions. 4-2. Yeah, 4-2-1. All right, then can I get a motion on partnering with ACBE on literacy? To put that on the agenda for next month. Yeah, you made the motion? Okay, so is there a second for that from Robert? Oh, maybe Jackie could address that.
A 10 to 15-minute presentation by Scully staff at the upcoming Ukiah Conference for ACCDE to present on our literacy program in general in Shasta County, what we've done and what we're doing. Robert just made a motion that he supports us doing that.
To attend
That he supports us allowing Scully to have someone go and present for us at the conference. Our literacy program in Shasta County. It was something that I could do as the ACCDE rep, but I'm not comfortable giving a 15-minute presentation. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, I know at the last, at the study session, you brought that up, and I was kind of quick to rule it out of being the one to speak, and then I thought later, like, oh, I really need to talk to Jackie about that. Because, I mean, I'm definitely, you talked about it being a Zoom call and stuff, so if I can help with that, I'm totally open to doing it, and I apologize for just kind of shutting down or whatever, so, yeah.
I'll second. All right, thank you. After seconds, is there any discussion, Robert?
I just wanted to say, at these events, there's typically a board member that sits on the panel, and you would be perfect to represent this board on that panel for literacy.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded to add that to the agenda for next month. We can do a roll call vote. I'll start. Aye. Jackie. Robert. Jessica. Laura. Aye. Teresa. Arthur. Abby. Jacob. Aye. Get 7. All right, there's also a suggestion to put the art contest. I believe it's an art contest that has something to do with identifying propaganda or something like that. Can you explain that further, Jessica?
Yes, I talked about it at length in our last board meeting, but essentially I received a phone call from a parent at a school here, and they wanted to sponsor a prize for a student art competition where students were creating posters that were teaching how to identify propaganda. And they thought that in the context of the world and how much propaganda and AI technology and all that stuff's been going on, that it would be beneficial for students to learn how to identify propaganda regardless of what it is that you believe. And so, yes, they would like to sponsor a prize, and they were looking for an organization that would want to sponsor the art contest for students in Shasta County.
So do you want to make that motion to put that on the agenda for next month? All right, so there's a motion. Is there a second? All right, so it fails for lack of a second. The next one would be to add to the agenda the creation of a standing policy committee. We would discuss that next month as an action item. Is there someone that wants to make a motion to put that on the agenda?
I'll make a motion we appoint a standing committee on policy review.
Is there a second? You gotta have it on the agenda.
Sure, I'll second
All right, well, second has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion related to adding it to the agenda? No. All right, then we will vote. Let's start with Jessica. Jessica?
Aye.
Laura? Aye. Teresa?
Aye.
Arthur? Aye. Abby?
Aye.
Jacob? Aye. I vote aye. Jackie?
Can you repeat the motion?
To discuss the creation of a standing policy committee that would review all policies. And then Robert. All right, so that would be on there. 7-2. And then we have one more, adding an action item related to amending the student board member application process to include private schools. So is there someone that wants to make a motion to add that to the agenda for next month as an action item?
I'll make a motion that we make amendments to our current student board policy allowing private schools and independent home schools that are not under our supervision and jurisdiction.
Is there someone that would like to second that motion?
I'll second.
All right, so moved and seconded. Is there any discussion about adding this to the action item agenda for next month?
Board, we need to know if that's legal because the county Office of Education is part of the public school system. The County Board of Education is part of the public school system, so it may not even be something that we could legally do.
Comments on that?
What's the scope of the activity going to be? I'm sorry.
For student board members from private schools and independent home schools to be able to serve on the County Board of Education and be able to apply and serve on that potentially.
Thank you. I believe we talked about this briefly last month, but the education code, Claudia was helpfully looking it up. Thank you. It's section 1000. Says that student board members can be drawn from the public schools of the county. So official student board members cannot be appointed from private schools. What one could consider, this is just an idea, is to have ex officio or observer type student board members. That idea would probably need a little thinking about and talking about.
So is there any issue with putting it on the agenda to discuss next month?
No, I think you can discuss it within those parameters. I think that would be fine.
Okay. Yeah, I think what you want to look at is the difference between the state board of education where it says public schools, and then when it goes down to the local level, it doesn't talk about public schools. It only says that in the state student board members.
Mike, are you up here?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Jackie. Yes, there's a motion and it has been seconded about putting it on the agenda, so is there any further discussion on adding that to the agenda? All right, then can we do a roll call vote? Jackie?
Aye.
Robert? Aye. Jessica?
Aye.
Laura?
No.
Teresa? Aye. Arthur? Aye. Abby?
Aye.
Jacob? Aye. And I vote aye as well. So it's 6-1 to add that to the agenda for next month. And with that, we are adjourned at 8:34.